New Norfolk was one that kind of that blew me out, and I guess maybe it's that gentrification across the last 10-year period, because I know we've spoken before about I wasn't allowed to go to parties in New Norfolk back in the day. It was too dangerous. I love New Norfolk now.
I
It's
reckon
so
you'll
nice.
find that if they do this report in another 5 years' time, New Norfolk's no longer on that team.
No, I agree.
Going once, going twice, sold. You're listening to the Property Pod.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Property Pod, your weekly engagement into real estate here in the Hobart Marketplace. I'm your host, Aaron Horn, and I am joined back by the two guys at the desk. It's been a red-hot minute between drinks for everyone in here, but welcome back, Patrick Berry and John McGregor.
Can I just say that after, 3 or 4 years of doing this podcast, you are nailing these intros.
I know, I don't stress.
Every week, you don't stuff it up anymore.
I don't stress about it anymore. I used to be like, oh my God, I'd be lying in bed thinking, all right, and then I say this, and then I say this.
Now
and
it
then I say
just
this.
rolls off the tongue.
Rolls
so
off the
smoothly.
tongue. I can even make it up if you're not here, if you're not here. I got this. No problem. And then I've got someone else in this seat. No, it's good to have you, Mac, J-Mac. Me and Pat flew solo last week, and we talked all about his trip to Inman. You were away.
Where was I?
You were in South Australia.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Where was I?
Where was I?
God, I spent so much time abroad. Where was I
I
last
think I was
week?
on a cosmic trip around the globe.
Yeah. Well, that was for the release of my brother's gin, McGregor and Young.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd bring some in. You got any sitting about?
I do on my kitchen bench, unfortunately. But we've got we're going to do a tasting at the end of the week.
And I'm sure for the listeners, we'll have a discount code in the notes that, we get a kickback like they do on all those big name podcasts.
marketing. Yeah.
Affiliate marketing, baby.
Just use the code below.
Type in McGregor Gin.
Friends of the Property Pod.
Well,
Can't speak today.
It was
Jesus.
so good. But it took 6 years in the making for those guys. They realistically, though, Chris is a high voltage electrician, has his own company, and Scott was in the Air Force, so they never really had lots of time to consistently break it, to work on it. But one thing they discovered when originally, I think they said the idea of first spawned that they were going to have like a little bar in Latvia, and they realised, well, that's probably, the coordinating all that was a bad idea because they were traveling.
Why Latvia?
They were traveling through Eastern Europe at the time.
Yeah, and just fell in love with Latvia.
Something like that. It
Fair
could have been some other L country, but something like that. But when they got back and they realised they really wanted to do this, they first discovered actually we just have to become good distillers first. So they end up just learning how to make alcohol. So to have their own clear spirit and then build the gin from there, and they always thought, well, you can get into gin really quick, buy some alcohol, throw in some botanicals, and boom, you've got a product. But the reality is, it's over flooded. The market, there's gins absolutely everywhere, but they never did it with the intention that they wanted to make money. They just wanted to make a good alcohol. So with that, then they played the long game to think, well, look, there's an oversaturation of product, but they just want to make something that they really love to drink themselves and build just a small little business around it that hopefully they can just sort of pay a decent little salary and then just be distillers, and Chris can sell his company, and Scott retired from the Air Force, so that's sort of the long-term goal.
Yeah, when you came in and said, this is the family gin, I was just like, gin? I would have put you guys down for your whiskies or something dirty like that. But
whiskey.
But
it looked really cool, all of the design on it and everything they've put together, and obviously, like you said, it's been a 6-year process to kind of just go from idea to this place. Will we be seeing them on Shark Tank or anything like that coming soon? Like I saw some fancy botanical drinks that were on there last night. I love Shark Tank, by the way.
So the plan is all the products paid for, so they can just slowly sell it. They've got 2,000 bottles on the first run, and then figure out where they are in the market.
Yeah, cool.
Figure out how they're going to sell it. So that's a whole nother skill set. Scott was just sharing with us on our family chat as well. But it's so exciting, and not playing favourites. Look, if you don't like gin, you're not going to like it. Because obviously it's a gin first, makes sense. But honestly, it's a really bloody good product.
Cool.
Really bloody good.
Sweet.
So we thought I bought some mixer to make this cocktail that they had on the launch night. So on Friday, ideally, I'll bring the stuff in if we can. If not, if it doesn't work this week, we'll do it next week. But just so everyone in the office can give it a crack.
I'll be here for that. It'll be a January adventure.
That's right. So they're here for the Gin Fest next week.
There's one next week.
Yeah.
Sweet. Rock and roll. Oh, we should have them in on the podcast.
They'll come in for sure.
Yeah. There you go. Done deal. Sorted. There's that. Guest sorted for next week. Tell us about your gin. Let's taste it.
Yeah. And talk about real estate second.
Yeah.
always do.
Maybe.
That's what we do normally. What's the difference?
Boozy real estate. We'll sort it out. I wanted to talk real estate today. I looked into a little bit of stuff. There was kind of a report that came out through, is it PropTrack or?
Yep.
That is it. Thank you,
That was
Pat.
it. You're on the money.
And it was interesting. It was kind of about this, how long people will hold on to a property or how long people will be in certain suburbs. And it's interesting. I know I've heard of the 7-year itch. I think you mentioned it even before we started, but that life cycle of kind of you get into your home, about 7 years later, you feel like it's time to move on to the next one. We're about 5.5 years into having the place we're in at the moment. Our family's grown exponentially since we purchased the house. It was kind of like, oh, this would be a good fixer-upper. Now it's a good family home. But it's like, oh, we're going to run out of space. So we're actually quite just the average, right on track to be the normal person of hitting 7 years. It's time to move.
Yeah.
So I just kind of wanted to look into some of the stats on this report and see if it holds true or if it's a little bit different.
What always interests me is that people think that it's just 7 years, but it's actually every suburb's different.
Yeah.
So some suburbs are longer than others, but most people don't realise that. They just assume that.
Well, I guess like a bunch of this stuff is like getting the median and bringing it into it here. And I guess the easy answer is, about 7 years. And that's when we're going to start prospecting onto the next one.
Yep.
But it's interesting some of the suburbs here that we've looked across. The report had across all of Tassie, all across Australia. But of course, being Tassie based, we looked into our marketplace and kind of looked across the top 10 suburbs with the longest average hold period. So if you want to kind of go through some of those ones, maybe we could talk to why we think those suburbs might have a longer time than other ones.
Yeah, well, I guess the first stat that the report actually outlines, which I thought was quite interesting, across all of Tasmania, it's actually the 11-year itch. So we talk about 7, but the average person in Tasmania owns a property for over 10 years. So it's actually up 23% according to
So I'm only at halfway. I've still got plenty of life out of my house.
Yeah, mate. So just settle in. You ain't going anywhere anytime
all right,
soon.
I'm okay with that. It's close to work. It's close to school. It's close to all the things I need.
Yeah, it's interesting because I assume that as properties have got more expensive, people are less inclined to move. Things like that probably are factors as to why people aren't moving as much as what they were. But, it's an interesting sort of report that's come out, and the stats and even the suburbs that perform better than others are quite interesting, and for the different reasons, I guess, like why they're appealing to people.
Yeah, so I wanted to pick kind of your brains on why you kind of thought. So looking at the top 10 suburbs on this report from PropTrack, it's got West Moonah at the top of the top, and then we've got Newtown, Launceston, I guess, general as the whole city. And then we go to Moonah.
I love
South
that Launceston's just...
Yeah, they just smack back.
I guess that's no different to the suburb of Hobart. There is a Hobart suburb.
True. So, central
Launceston doesn't have any suburbs.
No Riverside or Mowbray or any of those other places. Newstead. South Hobart, West Hobart, Dodgers Ferry, a pretty interesting one there. Lindisfarne, Somerset and Lauderdale.
Well, the first thing I noticed when I look at that list of 10 suburbs is they all come with a different style of lifestyle.
Yep.
And it's, Dodgers Ferry is your beachy vibes town where people move down there because you can still commute back to Hobart within sort of an hour or less than an hour now with the new highway.
Yeah, the new bypass.
But you're still getting that weekend beach vibes of Clifton Beach and being able to be part of the surf life saving community, that type of stuff.
Yep.
I know for a fact that a lot of people relocate from Sydney's northern beaches to sort of to Dodgers Ferry, Carlton, that sort of area.
Yeah, well, even Lauderdale is a prime spot for somebody that's kind of lived in that kind of area and then is looking for kind of, that beach lifestyle that's not too far from the city.
Yeah, so I think it's a lot of people from the mainland that forget that Tassie is too cold to actually swim.
Yeah.
Or they're used to that travel time and that commute and they're not, they've got no issues with it. They're like, oh, what, you're complaining about 40 minutes to get to work?
Yeah,
like,
I can't even get to the corner store in 40 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
But then, you look at some of the other suburbs and, if you take Newtown or West Moonah into consideration, they both have a lot to offer as far as cafes, restaurants, lifestyle that's within the community itself, and also a short commute back to Hobart City itself.
Yeah, so that when I looked at those ones, the thing that instantly jumped out at me was that those family areas where you're not inner city living, you've still kind of got a backyard, you can still maybe ride your bike on the street without having the fear of
being run over,
or they still had that homely, even 1980s vibe about some of the areas there.
You got those big lush trees down the street.
Yeah.
Well, one thing about West Moonah, you consider the makeup of most of those homes, and a lot of them were built by European migrants at the time. They're all brick, they're all double story, and they've got the 3-bedroom house at the top and a rumpus or a granny flat underneath. So
You're describing my house in West Moonah that I grew up in.
So they're built to be able to sustain a family over multiple generations.
Yep.
So it kind of makes sense that those houses serve more than you 1 or 2 children. They serve up to 3, 4, 5, however big a family. They're built to be able to sustain that growth.
Yep.
So they could hold that family over a longer life cycle as well. But even again, Newtown the same, that because it had been an aspirational suburb, that's going to be your second or your third move often in most cases. So then you're able to. You're not going to want to move again. It's like, okay, we're in the suburb we need to be.
So you're working on the theory that Newtown's one of those suburbs that you can't buy into as a first-home buyer. You're working to that level. So when you hit that, you're in sort of maybe early to mid 40s. You're getting that goal of the final family home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, your South Hobart's, West Hobart's. It's almost like I've reached where I want to reach. I don't want to overreach this point. And then in a counter to that, some of the shortest average hold periods do seem like they're more the suburbs where I've got into the market.
Yeah, they're your first home buyer, your investor marketplace. So obviously investors turn properties over a lot quicker because they'll use it for a certain period of time to get value out of it from their capital gains, their tax, capital gains from tax, different things like that there's a purpose to it. And then they move on to the next investment property.
It's interesting, just like jumping straight out at me looking at the other end with the top 10 suburbs with the shortest average hold period, we've got like your East Devonport, your Ulverston, your Mowbray. I remember when I wasn't here when you spoke to the guy, but who was the investor that we came in who'd purchased places in that area?
God, I hope he's not listening because I have in a mind blank.
Yeah, and I could see him sitting right here.
Yep.
In your seat,
Yeah, I've got a mind blank. Sorry.
And he brought so much more value than you or me ever did.
Oh, yeah, no.
But here we are.
Anyway, I remember,
Well, all these suburbs that he's listing are pretty much all the ones he was buying in.
Exactly. So, it was really right onto the ball there. And, as you look into them, they're those kind of, let's get in the market, let's find our way. Like Mayfield, that's where I lived when I went to uni. There were so many kind of ex-housing commission homes there that you could see lots of investors had picked up. Yeah. Brez's old man, we were in his investment property. He was looking after us while we were.
Was he really?
Well, no, he was looking after us. We weren't looking after the house.
I don't think there's any point looking after that place, mate.
I actually do think, from memory, the back bedroom that Turner lived in, there was definitely like a duct in the roof there when we moved in that someone definitely been growing something interesting in that back room. I'm sure of it. Just had a special vibe, that room.
And he was always a happy
He's so
guy.
relaxed. No, well, he wasn't. No, he was.
Paranoid.
Yeah.
It was like jumping all over the spectrum just then.
Look, it's interesting, looking at these kind of the other end of the spectrum. New Norfolk was one that kind of that blew me out. And I guess maybe it's that gentrification across the last 10-year period, because I know we've spoken before about I wasn't allowed to go to parties in New Norfolk back in the day. It was too dangerous. I love New Norfolk now.
I reckon you'll find that if they do this report in another 5 years' time, New Norfolk's no longer on that
I agree.
top 10 list. It's definitely becoming a family vibe area.
Yeah.
The new subdivisions going in out there. Like there's a really cool brewery that's open up out there, distillery out there. So, if McGregor takes off, maybe they can get a distillery up that way somewhere.
Oh, just wait. We'll have blimps and everything.
Blimps.
Blimps? Why does blimp go to your head?
Because no one has blimps in Tassie.
Because it's too windy, John.
We're bringing blimps back.
But that's, you get really good value for your, per hour because it's going so damn fast.
Yes, I heard the Hindenburg is on sale.
Yeah, exactly.
And can they just burn the gin to fuel the blimp?
See, that's the point. Like, there's so many ways to use a blimp. No one's thought about it.
Those early batches that didn't go anywhere, John.
Yeah, that's right.
Blimps, all right, we got this.
But there is a lot to like about New Norfolk. It has really changed. I was up there the other day, and I don't know if you've been up there recently. Even the rowing club's got these giant club rooms down on the waterfront. So I didn't know that was there. But
and the way the valley kind of sits, it always seems to be so glassy down there. You never kind of have to worry about kind of it blowing across you. The amount of times I've been down there flying the drone and looking over the river, I'm like, man, this place is gorgeous.
Yeah, so I can see why it's definitely changing. I'm surprised to see it on that list, if I'm being honest. I'm actually very surprised to see that.
So just
it's only
like
5.5 years is the average hold according to this report. And to me, that seems strange.
So from a real estate agent's point of view, I know you just mentioned before, you're like, I've found the next place that Azza should be prospecting, like getting his boots on the ground and dropping his
Flyers.
his card. No, what about the card? Have you guys? We haven't covered this on the property pod. I'm just going to throw it in there. We talked about the Reddit thread about Azza's cards.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, yeah.
So good. So just randomly out of nowhere the other day, Mark Stewart, friend of the podcast, has texted her. He said, I don't know if you've seen this. What do you think about it? And it was this Reddit thread of Aaron Murray had popped his card into someone's letterbox and drawn he hadn't drawn the penis on it. Someone had drawn a penis on it and put up, and this I'm sick of getting all this rubbish in my letterbox. But Reddit's a pretty horrible place. Like Reddit is the place on the internet worse than Twitter where people will just
hate on each
throw
other.
mud at each other and say all these horrible things. There was all these lovely things coming up.
That's right.
About Aaron, about Martin, about 414 are actually a pretty good agency.
Well, yeah, it was really surprising because even there was only a few people proportionately that were dumping on agents. Like, oh, that's fine. Like, what's wrong with that? Like,
Yeah.
it was just weird. Like, you were not expecting it.
Don't you love when, and it happens on Facebook as well, when someone puts up a comment and they're expecting everyone to be on their side and it totally backfires on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are all over the place today, but I'm currently on this ticket sales thing for F1 group, and this person had a free access code to be able to get pre-sale tickets.
Okay, yeah.
He just got randomly selected. Abby and I got a code, and this person's like, I've managed to secure tickets. I don't need my access code for Monday's morning sale. If you'd like to buy it from me, DM me. There's a freaking free code, and everyone just hated on him. They're like, you can't sell a code you got for free. That's just a dog act. Just give it away to somebody.
Wow, yeah.
And like, he was like, I think in his head, he was like, I've got this code. I don't want to go to waste. I'll sell it to someone cheap. But everyone's just like, you should have been giving that code away to the poor people that couldn't get a code. But that's a great example of, like, to me, of the same thing with the Aaron. This guy's put it up thinking people are just going to hate on it like crazy. And they didn't.
No, well,
Most
it was
of them
funny.
were quite positive. And
Especially given, our nature of our business. Like, we're the easiest marks and to be crapped on, but that just didn't happen.
Oh, well, it did. Like, there were some, But if you want to find it, head over to Reddit, and I think if you search in like a Hobart subreddit, you'll find Aaron Murray with a phallic symbol drawn across his face, and then some mean things and some nice things said.
Yeah.
But getting off topic completely, but it brought back to prospecting in an area where a house may be a short the whole time.
So
Is what I'm getting at.
could a real estate agent use this list and be like, okay, so the hold time for properties here is lower than other suburbs. I'm going to try and stake my claim in this area.
I think there's merit behind it.
Yeah.
If it works, I don't know. Like, any prospecting is only good if you repeatedly do it consistently. I think with a lot of prospecting, people expect the answer tomorrow or the listing tomorrow, not the one in 2 to 3 years' time.
Yeah.
So I guess it would depend how hard you prospect an area.
Well, the other part too is you need to, for an agent's perspective, if you're trying to establish a certain income for the business, you also need to know how many houses are actually in that area. Because if there's it's got the highest turnover, but there's only like 500 homes in the suburb. Well, you're probably still going to starve a little bit because it sounds like they're selling quite quickly, but there's just not many houses.
Yeah.
So it's all relative to the actual size of the market in that as well. But honestly, like it is, like in any business, you're going to determine what's your market, how many there are, and what's the potential exposure. So it makes sense from a strategy perspective, of course.
Yeah, no, it's just an interesting kind of, you kind of mentioned in jest, but I was like, well, it's not the worst way of trying to find business. Like if you can work out the places to go where you're going to have a high success rate.
Well, going back to that thing about moving to New Norfolk, so that the economist Anne Flattery, is it? I always get that wrong. It's an Irish Flaherty.
Nice.
But she talked about it's like better infrastructure and gentrification. So the more that a suburb is going to be able to serve you, the more likely you're going to stay.
And which is kind of what I mentioned with New Norfolk before. It was like it feels like the idea of the suburb of New Norfolk is not the same as early 2000s.
That's right.
The suburb that's doing well, or the council that's doing well at the moment, is the Sorrel Council.
Yeah.
Like, the way that they are creating opportunities for their people in that area is just astounding. Like,
Have you been to the new park?
At Sorrel?
Yeah,
No,
the
I
one with the Ninja Warrior.
No, I have not.
Oh man, yeah. Oh, it's so good. So yeah, it's got a massive kids playground, not as big as the Kingston one, but like heaps of little areas for different age kids, and then an adult-sized Ninja Warrior course for training for Ninja Warrior.
Dead set. I had no idea that was there.
It's a massive fight between Kingston and Sorrel, in my opinion, as to the council that are offering the best value for their people.
Yeah, constituents.
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's just astounding what those two suburbs are doing as far as like facilities, like infrastructure, playgrounds.
I don't want to shit on our local area, but like, what about our pool?
Well, it's as you were speaking, the first thing that I had this, a running thought, which is, Glenorchy's one that lacks vision of what it wants to do next. Because you think of all those suburbs, like it's very driven, right? Family, let's invest in the infrastructure to get them to have everything they need locally. Whereas Glenorchy, I suppose, has just been so well established. Like, well, now what the heck do we do?
I think it's like if you treat the council as a business, for instance, it's any business that grows, they get to a point where they feel like they hit a wall.
That's
like,
it. Yeah.
Where do we go from here?
Well,
if you look at Sorrel and Kingston, they're both emerging suburbs. They're both like getting lots of new subdivisions population. So they've actually got income coming in to help fund these projects.
Yeah.
Where Glenorchy hasn't got that opportunity to develop more properties to get more people to live into their suburbs. So they're at a point where they've spent their income or it's all allocated and it makes it hard to do these projects where Sorrel's got endless construction happening.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
And
like
Norfolk's the same.
The BMX track.
Kingston's the same. Like if your population or your housing is growing rapidly, you've got extra funds that aren't allocated to anything. So you can do these projects.
Yeah, and less objection because it's sort of a bit more future focused.
And I guess
there.
I guess you've got to offer those things so people say, yeah, I want to move to that area.
100%.
Yeah, so you can see why some of those suburbs are doing really well at the moment.
Yeah, no, I dig that. That's actually a really good point. And no.
So nothing against Glenorchy. You guys are doing a pretty good job. We're getting some new playgrounds at the moment. There's
the skate park's just gone in at the Montrose Bay and the one. Oh, Pat.
I'm not on that skate park.
Oh.
That's a story for another day.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll save that for next week. But yeah, down by
keep an eye on Reddit,
Yeah. I've actually got 2 subreddits going on that at the moment. They're not getting much traction though.
But yes, no, look, there are things going in and as you say, like there are emerging suburbs where there's space to grow. We're kind of boxed in here in this place where...
A little bit stuck on the ability to grow and create more opportunities.
And so I suppose so much counter vision too, because like, well, with the finite amount of use of space or the repurposing of buildings, you just got so many different heads at this point with so many different conflicting perspectives. Whereas in growth, it's like, well, it makes sense. Well, there's space. You've got space for you. We've got space for me. So everyone's happy.
Like I'm sure somebody went to the Sorrel Council and said, I want to train for Ninja Warrior. I need a training facility.
They're like, great.
Awesome.
You can have that.
It's so funny. When I watch the show, I'm like, it looks really, really hard. I wonder how I'd go. And you know how it always starts? You jump from like the first three bits, platform. And I'm like, yep, I can do that. And then the next one's one of those ones where it like works on your upper body.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to swing with your own body weight. I was just like, oh, no. oh, no. And that's as far as I've got.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's nuts.
So you went off to your High Rocks just recently and did your fitness fest event. So maybe head down to Sorrel and on your way to the in-laws, just drop by and see how you go on the course.
It would be interesting. We do like an office challenge Ninja Warrior and none of us get past the first three obstacles.
I actually wouldn't mind that. That's not too bad. Yeah, that might be next on Az's fun card.
We end up just doing a squat competition instead.
As long as it's not push-ups because Laurie's got that in the bag.
Yeah.
Who?
Laurie. Oh, yeah, we are. I really apologise for the listeners this week because
it's been a while between hot takes.
But Murray was adamant he could beat Laurie in a push-up competition. And for people that don't know, Aaron Murray goes to the gym most days and he's quite buff these days. And Laurie, how old's Laurie? 70s?
Yeah.
Late 70s? I don't know. Apologise, Laurie, if I've oversold you.
He won't listen, but yeah, somewhere in the 70s.
The two of them had a push-up competition. And Laurie's at like 70 push-ups and going strong. And Murray is struggling, begging Laurie to stop because he couldn't do any more. Laurie's just up, down, up, down, up,
just
down.
Forget about it.
Where was I for this? I can't believe I missed this.
Yeah. Aaron was so cocky Aaron, confident as all shit that I've got this old man.
Yeah.
And Laurie just went down and went to town.
Laurie's just got that old builder strength that just never left.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was impressive.
Well, shout out to Laurie Gray, the muscle.
Bloody yeah.
Muscle of 414.
Laurie the muss. Yeah.
I love that. All right. Well, look, we talked some real estate. We talked a lot of rubbish.
Talked some right.
They're normally my favourite ones, to be honest. Thanks, guys. We will be back next week, maybe with some gin to taste.
Yeah.
Only time will tell.
Maybe some special guests.
Maybe, yeah, if John can get it organised.
Oh,
yeah, those ones. Yeah, I'm still working on those as well. Yeah. Yeah.
I still think you're talking different special guests to what I'm talking about.
What guests are you talking about?
Well, our 4 BPO people that are arriving.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Woohoo. I would love to get them on the pod.
Good luck.
I hope I can, even just a little mini interview with them. All right, guys.
Let's finish this.
We'll be back next week with more Property Pod. Thanks for sticking with us.
Bye-bye. See you guys.
You have been listening to the Property Pod, recorded and edited by 414 Media House in conjunction with 414 Property Code.
This podcast is general information only, and the thoughts and views expressed is the opinion of our panel, and listeners should always seek then use their own investigation into any topic we discuss to ensure they fully understand their own situation.
It does not constitute and should not be relied on as purchasing, selling, financial or investment advice or recommendations, express or implied, and it should not be used as an invitation to take up any agent or investment services. No investment decision or activity should be undertaken on the basis of this information without first seeking qualified and professional advice.